Happy Father's Day, everybody. I'm going to get into one of the reasons why we are where we are today. When we first got this place, we got a lot of mixed reviews. Some of them were not the most positive, but everyone's gonna have an opinion. Some of them, however, people were not surprised at all. I don't know if our family is just honestly that crazy that no one's even shocked or surprised by some of the stuff that we do. One of the lines that we heard more than once was, "That is such a Carissa and Franco thing to do. We're not even surprised that you guys did that because you're crazy." And we're like, oh, is that a good thing? What led us on this journey was a surprise to us, probably more so than half the people that we told that we bought a vacant church. We genuinely wanted to stay at the place that we were at. My son has grown up in that home since he was a baby. All my children have grown up in that home, and I really wanted it to be our forever home. Unfortunately, things did not work out, and it became very apparent that it was no longer safe for us to stay at the place that we were at. When I say God brought us on kind of a deconstruction journey, I'm not even exaggerating. I had this idea in my head of what I wanted in a home. And what I was looking for in the rental market was comparables to where we were living at the time. I don't know if you've seen the rental market lately, but it's bananas. $2,400 for a 3-bedroom house, $1,200 for a 1-bedroom apartment. Back in the day, I was paying $995 for a 3-bedroom apartment. And I'm not saying times are not meant to inflate and deflate as the economy grows and waxes and wanes, but this was ridiculous. And Franco and I really, really wanted to get into the real estate market with a lot of factors that were playing against us. We were losing a down payment that we were promised. We lost thousands of dollars that we put into this home that we were living in. Like when the dishwasher died, we replaced it. And when the furnace broke down, we paid to have it fixed. We weren't going to get any of that back. And we knew that that was kind of one of those things that we would have to sacrifice if we were going to leave. And so we were essentially starting from scratch, except the difference is we're not in our 20s, we are in our 30s and 40s now. And so to get into the real estate market when you are late to the game, plus with 6 children, it's a little bit harder. I started to kind of lower my standards a little bit, like, okay, I got it. This rental market is ridiculous, and clearly we're not going to be able to stay in the rental market. So let's see what we can sacrifice to be able to save up. And so I started looking at 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments. And yes, it would be really tough with 6 kids, but I thought, with the lower bills and the lower rent, we might be able to actually make it work to save up for a year, to save up a down payment to put down on a home. When 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments are $1,500 plus a month, plus utilities, we weren't really coming out ahead. I lowered my standards yet again. Let's try to look for homes that are for sale, and let's see what we can afford. I would like to say that we did this all on our own, but we didn't. This was so much prayer. We prayed, and it was a pretty devastating time for our family because we're losing all of these ideas of what we thought our life would look like, and losing all of these hopes and these dreams, not to mention the finances. But finances aside, God deconstructed our view of what we thought we would have in life. And he's like, okay, so I've lowered your standards here, and I've lowered them down to here now. How low can you go? Let's see where I can bring you from here. And jokingly, one night I was on Facebook Marketplace, and this abandoned, well, it looked abandoned because the front windows were boarded up, but it was vacant. It had been vacant for many years, and it was gutted. And I jokingly I'm serious. This was a total joke. And so I turned to my husband, and I have this Facebook Marketplace ad pulled up, and I said, would you like to buy a church? Haha, funny, funny, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, totally joking. And he goes, with a very serious face, he turns to me, he goes, yeah, message them. I was like, what? Okay, first of all, again, we don't have a down payment. We don't have any money. We're starting from ground zero. We are starting from square one all over again with 6 children. I'm like, okay, well, if this is meant to work out, then it's just going to work out. And so I messaged this person. We reached out to the previous owners of this place, and they were incredible. They were so willing to work with us, and we kind of told them a bit about our story, and it didn't scare them away. If anything, they were happy to help us out and to eagerly be a part of the picture. And I thought that was just so cool. It's been sitting vacant for quite some time. The previous owners have put so much work into it. They updated a lot of the plumbing and a lot of the electrical, drywall. It was pretty much finished down in the basement. We have an incredible mortgage broker. She goes to our church. Her name's Margaret Perot. And if you need a mortgage broker, please check her out. She showed us a way to be able to get a mortgage for this place. And again, talk to her if you kind of want to know and you see a vacant church online that you really, really want to buy. She's your girl. Now, one of the things that they were asking for was a deposit, of course, to put down in the plate. And so I went back to God and I said, hey, we don't have, like, I'm not really serious about this place. Like, and maybe I wasn't serious about it because I just didn't want to get my hopes up and just have them dashed. I came before God and I said, hey, like, if this place is for us, you need to just make it happen. And one night when Franco and I were on our way to a small town on Highway 12, we were driving, we were talking about the future and, you know, talking about the church actually, and saying, hey, like, if we're gonna buy this, here's how we could do it. We might be able to save up this much money, but we won't be able to buy it until then. And we're going through this budget in our heads. And when I tell you God works in mysterious ways, I truly do mean it. Franco had just got finished fixing up his car to sell because we're thinking if we sell this car, we can have enough money for a payment as well as maybe like a small vehicle for him to be able to drive, commute back and forth from work. And not even joking, after about 5 minutes of talking about our future, I look at the ditch and I said, moose. And the same time the s came out of my mouth, smash. We had hit a moose on the highway and glass was everywhere. Like, Franco was eating it. It was scary, I'm not gonna lie, but our car was totaled. It was written off. We called some friends from our church and they came and they picked us up and drove us home. And I mean, she checked in on us the next day and just wanted to make sure everything was okay. We have an incredible church family and they have helped us through these last really tough years. And that was just the icing on the cake for us. But God uses it. He uses everything. He uses everything and works everything out for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose. And I didn't see it at the time, but lo and behold, this moose, we got a pretty hefty sum back from the totaling of our car. And we were able to put down our down payment, our deposit, like they required of us. And my husband was able to get a truck as well. So that was pretty incredible. That's where we got the money from. Again, not planned, but clearly God had a bigger picture in mind and we just didn't know about it. So fast forward to March, where we finally got possession of our church, our house, and we went down into the basement and we were truly able to kind of get a good look at everything kind of going on. You know, when you're doing that initial walkthrough, you kind of have some ideas of things that are happening and what's going on, but you don't really You don't really know until you start digging. I went down to the basement and I'm like, and I've got a big schnoz. Like, I can smell things. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I smell mold. And definitely did. We opened up the drywall and they had done such I felt so terrible. They had done beautiful work downstairs and all the drywall was pretty much in. Like, I'm pretty sure it was paint ready. They had done the mudding and the sanding and the taping. And I ripped out all the drywall with my husband one day and all of the insulation was moldy. When I say we had all the food groups of mold, we really did. There was pink mold, there was white mold, there was black mold, there was green mold. There was all the food groups, and none of us were willing to keep that on our plates, so to speak. So we ripped everything out, and we tried to assess the damage. Obviously, this mold is coming from somewhere. Obviously, there is moisture coming from somewhere. And we realized very quickly that there was some flooding issues in the basement. A lot of it had to do with grading, but a lot of it also was, it's just an older foundation and it is concrete block, and a lot of the water is coming in from the mortar and the little cracks and crevices between the breaks in the foundation. It stood for a very many years, but moisture was clearly a problem. So I opted to do an indoor weeping tile system. They're not very common, but they are common in more industrial buildings where you have things like concrete block and cinder block foundations. I did a bunch of research. All in all, the materials cost about $2,000. Our goal is to move into the basement. We were still living in our house at the time in Lacombe, and let's get this done and see if we can move into the basement, and then we can start working on upstairs to make it a livable home. It took a long time. There was like 10, sometimes 12 inches of concrete in some spot. And I've never seen basement concrete poured that thick. It took forever. And we only got one side dug out, but it took 2 months. A job that was supposed to be maybe a week. I got a baby. I gained a baby. My husband put her to sleep and brought her back to me. This is Hannah. She's my favorite. Don't tell anyone else. So, we thought we were going to move into the house right away. That didn't happen. Our incredible church family helped us to move from our old house on May 10th, 2024. Our basement was not yet done, and so another incredible family from the church lent us their travel trailer. That's where I'm sitting right now. But we've been able to live here for the last month now, trying to get that basement ready. As soon as we think that we get kind of a roll or on some sort of a system and we see an end in sight, our family is just, it's one thing after the other. We know everything is in God's timing, and ultimately we trust him and we adore him for that because it all works out. But our entire family caught whooping cough. Oh. Franco, I'm recording.
Okay.
Okay. We caught whooping cough. I have not heard my children cough like that ever. It was miserable, horrible, terrible. I don't know what other synonyms you can come up for it, but I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Now we're all feeling semi-human again, and we're going to get a work on this place. That's our journey in a nutshell, And I hope that we can share loads more in the weeks to come, and hopefully not when we're sick.